joining me from LConnect. Today I'm going to be doing another one of my one-to-one discussions, and this time it's with Mike Meier, Vice President of DSV Logistics Americas. So firstly, let's start off by introducing yourself. What is your background and the experience you have in logistics?
Well, it's been the only business that I've been in, Louis, for my whole career, but it seems like yesterday. But it's I've been in the business 25 years. I started on the 4PL side of the business back right out of college, and then from there transformed it into consulting and a technology with a group called Synquest. That really I've taken that technology and partnership that I built over the years with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Siwan Kim and Srini Parachuri. Worked with them in a consulting and operational perspective, and then from there I took a leadership role down at Honda, and then moved back to Michigan and worked for Lear Corporation, running North American logistics and supply chain. Did an expat assignment over in Europe, ran Europe for a year, and then I decided to take the journey to do 2 startups, which were great experiences. Some of those, I guess going into it, some of the successes I had was one on the shipper side with Lear. It was a great organization. I just wanted to try to always own my own business and be on my own and be a leader of that and go into it. But at Lear, we had some great things happen where we really transformed their business back in 2009 when the auto industry was obviously in a downturn. A lot of restructurings were going on, and we at Lear were able to take significant money out of our inbound spend, in the double digits of the million side of it from an inbound transportation spend and overall cost. From the 2 startups, basically growing 2 businesses, 150 million a year in revenue and very healthy EBITDAs over that span. So.
Very impressive. Although you're a glutton for punishment, 25 years in the logistics and even the automotive logistics industry. It's a tough life.
Yeah, that's why you and I both got a lot of hair.
Exactly. You mentioned some of the changes in the times when you were at Lear and the state of the kind of automotive industry. Well, a lot of industries are in a state of change at the moment. So what do you think are the big changes, including automotive, but the big changes that are happening in industry that will impact on supply chains and logistics?
Well, first, if you look, right, everybody's really starting to focus on sustainability, right? Global warming, what we're doing. So the EV, I think, you saw a big swing in the EV market on the auto side, right? And I think you're starting to see that shift and change from a perspective of more of a hybrid model, right? But honestly, being over here at DSV now over 2 years, it's been a nice, breath of fresh air of non-automotive, right? And seeing what all these other industries are doing and where they're at from a wire and cable. One of our big flagship customers is a wire and cable manufacturer. They really view not just a 4PL or their transportation providers as a vendor. It's a true partnership. And I think, a lot of these organizations are starting to transform into that a little bit. They're starting to see that you got to, with the capacity of whether it's drivers or ocean and air capacity on the ship liners or where they're at, they're truly starting to understand that they have to partner with these groups, right? They have to, not just look for the total lowest cost of going with that vendor where they're at. I still think there's not a lot of infrastructure support inside of it from a technology side. Hence why, 4PLs are very, very, very important these days, right? Where if you can only have X amount of people inside of your organization, and if you go out and making a big acquisition on a TMS or WMS or any other sorts of technology within it, you got to have the right people to run it. If you don't have the right people, or those people make changes in their career, then you got to start over a little bit. So, I'm starting to see that people aspect of it, more and more people are getting into it. I think COVID changed things quite a bit, and there were times where people didn't understand where I explained what I did in my career, my living, right? A lot of people understand logistics now. When we all went through COVID and, the whole chip shortages and everything that was going on. So, but I still think there's a lack of knowledge of it. I think, from a customer level, they're still struggling a bit, right? There's still folks in there that shift quite a bit. I think also the cost of labor is still going up, drastically.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think, you know, there's just not enough emphasis on it put still, frankly. I think it's
Yeah.
getting better. I think the market's shrinking, right? You're starting to see, you know, some of these smaller trucking companies and other smaller logistics companies, you know, close up or get out of the business. So it could, you know, to me, logistics is economics 101, right? It's supply and demand. So I think that's what's driving up a lot of costs, right? And then a lot of these costs then are all then shifting to us as consumers because whether it's you're just going through a fast food restaurant, right? You can see the costs where they're at. So
Yeah.
I'm still struggling with the point of where's the breaking point at, right? Because at
Yeah.
some point, right, there's you only have so much money to spend, and you know everything these costs continue to go up on a man, you know, whether it's building supplies and you know just labor in general, right? All the costs that go into everything that we consume every day. There's got to be a breaking point at some point. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been on both sides of the industry. You've been a shipper, and now and previously with on the logistics service provider side. What have you learned from both sides that lessons that you've learned that you would now do as a shipper, or that helped you learn when you moved to the LSP side?
You know, I mean, the one thing I learned as a shipper side is you need your partners. You know, and I think that's why I was very successful being on the shipper side, right? I valued the relationships of whether it was our technology vendors, whether it was our you know, our trucking companies, whether it was our four walls providers or where they were at. Um, you need those folks, right?
Mhm.
You know, we're in the people business, right? And it's about relationships and processes and procedures. But you know, on the shipper side, right? Data. I mean, I've always driven my decisions around data, right? So I already knew that going on the shipper side. I think a lot of groups, going back to your previous question, they don't drive a lot of the business on data. It's more on instinctive or you know somewhat of a political perspective at the larger organizations. Um, but you know what I learned was it's pretty much making sure that you and your partners have a good relationship. Make your decisions off of data, drive it, and where it's at. From the LSP side and going over to that side back, you know, when
Mm.
doing you know two startups and being where they're at, it's a tough business.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult business. You know, it's easy for the shippers to just blame the LSPs for their failures, right? Or, you know, and point
Mm.
fingers where they're at. So, you know, what did I learn? I learned how hard it was, right? I respected it a lot more after being in it for, you know, I've been in it now for the last you know, 11 years, going on 12.
Mm.
So, um, but more importantly, probably the people side of it again, right? It's
Mm.
you know, for me, being where I'm at now, I'm having the most fun in my entire career. You know, I'm surrounded. I'm very fortunate to be part of DSV and what we're doing. It's a very large organization, and where we're at 45 plus billion. But we,
Yeah.
you know, from a revenue side, but we still act as an entrepreneurial type group.
Mm.
The people side of it is great. You know, if you can see some of the folks in our leadership team have been with the
Mm.
organization over 40 years.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, that's a key to it, right? Leadership, it starts at the top and drives down.
Yeah.
And,
Mm.
you know, I think it's all, again, you could have the best technology, you could have the best, you know, you know, the whole, you know, whole world of AI, right? And
Yeah.
analytics and all that. You can have everything. But if you don't have the right people in to deal with the customer, right? And
Yeah.
understand because one thing I've learned is on the LSP side is all the vendors really or all the customers really want is they just want to be serviced, right? They want to be heard. They want you to help with their pain points are, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's cost or whether it's a, you know, just a true operational issue that they're having inside their plants or they're out of their distribution centers or whatever they're at. They just want a good provider that is helping them, right? Just listen to them,
Yeah.
right? And try to help them and be there, right? And that's all we've done over the last really, you know, 2 years since I've been here with some of our current clients, and hence why we've had a lot of our, you know, almost all of our clients just renewing our contracts where they're at. We've been
Mm.
growing organically, so yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, good, good. And um, and 4PL, there's a lot of acronyms about at the moment, and they're just growing and growing. But there's not such a new one. But 4PL, what is a 4PL? What does it mean? What is the role of a 4PL?
Well, I mean, I think if you ask, certain people and you get different answers, but it's in our world, it's not asset based, right? No trucks, no trailers, no four walls, where it's at, right? So we're providing, people, processes, and technology to our customers, and driving their business, right? So sometimes as we talk now is, it's if you look at our sales deck that we have an a la carte model, right? And that's really what we start with, right? Is you go in and understand what their issues are, right? Whether that's a network optimization problem, right? Their network needs to be revamped, or maybe they need a procurement tool, right? We utilize a tool called Kevlar, which I frankly have been 11 years. It's the best tool I've seen in the marketplace from a procurement perspective on the logistics and supply chain side. So I would say, yeah, it's really driven by non-assets, right? If you get into a 3PL, right? A 3PL is you got trucks, you got trailers, you got drivers, you got either four walls or assets. You're managing it. Freight forwarder side, you're picking up material, taking it to the port, moving it over, or moving it over, via, you know, the air side of it. So that's truly how we brand it as a 4PL is non-asset based, an extension of the customer, and driving really, continuous improvement, cost savings, operational. We're running the whole business for them.
Yeah. But doesn't that mean you're just another layer? 4PL's another layer, or how do you actually add value?
Well, the value that's coming in is, I mean, we're driving their business for them. I mean,
Mhm.
we have a tier one where we've driven $1 million a year over year out of their business. Visibility is a lot, really important for folks today. We had a new client of ours actually that just started end of April. I was just down in Mexico with them last week, and um, they had a problem, right? They didn't have any coming from Juarez. They didn't have any. Their provider couldn't provide any service for them, right? They were backlogged for 2 weeks. We jumped in and sourced one of our partners, right? And we basically got their backlog out within a day and
Mhm.
provide visibility to them, right? So from a pickup through a delivery where it's at. So we're integrating the carrier, right? We're kind of that umbrella over it from the carrier to their shipping location, which is their plant, to their distribution center, to their final mile, to their client. So right there, did we drive savings out? No, but we solved the problem for them, right? And now they got visibility, right? And they didn't have that before. And this is a company that's been around for many, many years. So that's one example of value. Another example of value is um, one of our flagship customers I talked about earlier, the wire and cable manufacturer. We've driven about $79 million out of their true realized cost savings, 79 million over 2 years. First year was 55 million, and then we picked up another 25, 26 million in year two, by doing that. And it wasn't about just, pounding on their current providers where they're at, but they looking at their carrier base was at about 180. We said that's not the right number, right? We got to shrink it down. That they got to be important to you. You got to be important to them. And you know, $80 million is a lot of money, right? So there's the value there. I
That's
mean,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, and at the end, it makes, what we say is, you focus on your core business and let us take care of all of your logistics. Logistics is a big problem, right?
Mm.
Whether you're just, getting from A to B, right, with construction where it's at, we deal with logistics every day. Having four kids, I deal with logistics, is getting around to all their sporting events. It's not easy, right? So there's a lot of planning that goes into it. And it's a cost, right? So how do you drive cost out? How do you provide a good service? How do you let them focus on their core competency, what they're at? And then being where we're at DSV, we obviously have the capabilities of, a lot of assets and large buildings that we're building, state-of-the-art facilities and drones that are flying around our buildings and doing cycle counts and inventory checks. So,
Mhm.
how do we leverage that and bring it in, right? And how do we
Mm.
compare the market to that where it's going? So I think the value comes from the value's in the eye of the beholder, but at the end it's driving costs. We have monthly business reviews with our clients. We have an automated report where we're showing our on-time performance from our air and ocean providers to our carriers where they're at, and it's live, right? It's daily where it's at. So we're continuing to drive value to them, and if they don't, then one of our nemesis will knock on the door and put a nice PowerPoint together and say they can do it better and tell them that, and then they won't be successful for sure, and then they'll come back to us. But lot of good things going on at DSV today. We're growing. Um, we're very, very, very one, we're strategic, but we're also very, very efficient, right? And we're getting to the point where we can launch very fast too, which is a kind of a good game changer for us from a transformation of where we were 2 years ago.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's you know, you just got to come in and do what you say you're going to do. It's easier said than
Yeah.
done, but a lot of people can't do that, Louis. We do.
Yeah. But what makes it good? Is it that you've talked about some of your technology? Is being a good 4PL about technology or people?
If you had asked me probably 5 years ago, I probably would have said technology, but
Mm.
um, as you get a little older, you get wiser, right? And it is, we're all about the people, 100%. Joining here 2 years ago, it was interesting, right? Some things when I walked into the door with the role that I'm in now, but I'll say I had to learn the hard way, right? And it's when you surround yourself with people that you can trust, and you surround yourself with people that really are operational and know the business, right? And everybody's singing from the same song sheet. You're going to be successful, right? And that's where we've seen over the last year or so what we've been able to do. You could have the greatest technology in the world, right? But if you don't have someone that really can manage it, right, and operate it, and then understand, because you're going to have problems with it, right? And you can only
Mm.
because a lot of times, right, technology is hard to use. I've seen it many years where, um, a really good piece of technology, right? One of a very large OEM, automotive client, customer, bought a piece of technology, and it's a really good tool. It's well known across the industry, but they didn't like it, right? They couldn't That it wasn't any good, right? Well,
Mm.
they didn't have the right people, right? They didn't go through the implementation of it. They didn't have the right people to know how to use it. Um, and now several people are using this technology today. So, with that is, again, back to the people question is, yeah, it's all about the people, right? And I think, you know, you and I were chatting, a couple weeks ago. It's interesting, the workforce and where it's going. I was listening to a radio station, and they were saying some of the things about the interviews that are happening and taking place, right? And one of them was, 19. The question was, well, 19% of folks coming out of college, they're bringing their parents with them to the interview, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, think about that, right? I mean, and it's data, right? And how real is it, or where did the source come from? But you kind of laugh a little bit, right? There's
Yeah.
there's there's truth to it. So
Mm.
when you find good people, you got to hold on to them.
Mm.
You got to develop them. You got to mentor them.
Mm.
And again, figure out who those are, right? And everybody ticks the different sounds, and everybody drives people for different reasons, right? And good leaders find people to get the best out of their folks, right? And that's kind of where I'm at in my career. I'm having fun with that. So yeah, it's all about the people. Long-winded answer, right, for a very easy answer, but it's very key, and it's hard to find good
Yeah.
people these days.
Yeah, I remember our conversation about the people wanting to bring their parents along, and I was a little bit disappointed they never joined us for your interview here, Mike. But you've talked a lot about what you do for the customer. So is an LSP a logistic provider, and perhaps especially a 4PL? Is it about? Are you in the customer service business?
Yeah, I would say 100%, right? And I think I tell my team every day, right? You're always in you're always experiencing customer service day in and day out, right? Whether we're in our personal lives and where we're at, but um, I pride myself. I sleep with my phone. Our customers can get a hold of me at any given time. Um, when I first joined here a couple years ago, we had you know, I'll say we had some dissatisfied customers, and those customers that were dissatisfied are very satisfied now, right? And if you ask them why, they're satisfied now, right? Is they felt that we are delivering customer service to them, right? We're just doing some simple things, right? Of getting them visibility, EI set up, right? We're driving cost savings, right? But just the simple things of being able to get a hold of you at any given time, right? Whether that's our control tower, our engineering team, some of our operational folks, our logistics managers. Just the simple things, right? It's easy, right? And that's, not a lot of companies, not a lot of companies do that, right? And that's my experience as being on the shipper side. I saw it firsthand where some large providers just, wouldn't service us the right way, wouldn't listen to us, right? Didn't, they wanted to drive it their way and they felt their way was right. And I'm not saying always their way is right either, but you got to listen and see, right? There's two sides every story, and people have opinions. You listen to them, right? God gave us, 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. We listen to our clients, and we solve it for them, right? And again, I go back to refresh my head of, last week, right? We have a client that was in trouble. Provider was there forever. We fixed it in a day. We're running the business for them now. Well, that transformed into a business opportunity down in their local Mexico or, group. We're going to put, solution together from there. Now we got Draves and customs, right? And, you start and you solve those problems. People believe in you, right?
Yeah.
And then you just grow with them, right? And then they become your flagship customer. Like I talked about our wire and cable, client. And, previously there was two providers, right, through acquisitions of where they're at. And now there's one, which is us. And the reason is because of savings and because of, as I said, with some of the changes we've made here at DSV and where they're at, they believe in us. We're a trusted partner. And yeah, I mean, it's great. Like I said, again, I'm having more fun now than I've had my entire career. So
Not often being in the logistics industry, it's fun, so make the most of that. But where does a 4PL fit into a large company like DSV, where you've got so many different departments, different sectors within your whole group? Where does the 4PL fit into that?
well, we fit into it, if you look at our one slide of where we fit into it, we're kind of we actually our marketing branding is a a brain, right? So we're the brains of the operation, right? We have a lot of really smart folks and technology to do it, but we fit into, right? We're not transactional, right? It's
Mhm.
anytime a business for us comes in, a new client of us, it usually takes time, right? Because it's a big decision for a client to hand their keys over the card of their business over to us and transform where they're at, manage their carriers, and see where they're going. So, you know, we separate, right? We separate, church and state and where we're at, right? From an asset side to our four wall side and where we're at. But we obviously utilize those groups, right? Because there's a lot of market data that they have, whether it's our asset group, our brokerage group, um, our four wall side of the business and what we're doing. So, we're kind of that overlying umbrella, right, of the whole organization and helping and learning and teaching folks, how to help and transform clients' business where they're at. So, we're kind of, it's another tool in our toolkit bag, right? Whether it's a truck and a trailer or a driver, a four wall side opportunity where we're at. So, we obviously we leverage where we can and we try to provide the best service for our clients and utilize, DSV as much as we can where we can, right? Which makes sense for the client and is cost competitive for them,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
If you think of the Americas side and you look where we're at, not some folks still haven't heard who we are over here on this side. So in the Americas, which
Yeah.
I think is a it's a big opportunity for us as
Mhm.
at DSV of where we're going and what we're doing. I can't say enough about our European team. I've really enjoyed working with them. Um, they're very strategic. We're all from a leader's perspective, right? We understand we're in the people business. If you talk about where we're at, everybody understands we're in the people business, which that's one good thing we're all aligned on. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how we fit into it, right? It's we're that overlying umbrella and provide can provide a one-stop shop to all our clients.
Yeah. You mentioned a few things already, but are there any case studies that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, names and that where we're at, but I would say I've referenced a couple of them already.
Mm.
One was a tier one, and it's a case study where, internally it was a client that was not happy, right? And now they're very happy that we've had significant savings of where they're at. And the reason there's two ways to it of a case study, and I'll share with you when I say two ways wise, right, of why good service also allows you to grow your business.
Yeah.
And it ties back to the people side of it. So, this tier one client, was the first meeting I had when I came over here, and needless to say, they weren't happy, right? So I took it personally, right? I said, we're gonna fix this, we're gonna get it right, and we generated $1 million in savings a year, um, from an inbound automotive tier one perspective. Obviously, I've been in that industry very, very long, right, on the auto side, so I knew what great was, and we were far from it. A lot of brokers were being utilized, which is a no-no, right, in a JIT environment. So we got all our
Yeah.
asset providers in. We shrunk where we're at, got visibility. We're 100% compliant now on a track and trace perspective. So we're letting technology do all the work. Um, we ensured we had 24/7 coverage around the clock for all international moves and domestic. And two individuals, right? So, it's been a little over 2 years. And within that, the director is now left and went to a new organization. And the first thing she said when she left was, she says, I'll be calling you in a couple of weeks because you're going to need to help us over here. And another gentleman left and went to a new EV group, OEM provider that's coming over. And, we're starting to work with him. So we generated a lot of savings for the client. We improved the operations at the plants. We got visibility. Um, we got them happy, right? Which is number one important, right? And then two, as people turn in our business, right? We got two now leads of new business opportunities because we did that for them. So not only is it a case study for that client, but it's also a case study for us internally to say, hey, what service sells, and now we got two leads that we didn't have before, and those just generally, one happened a year ago and another one happened 2 weeks ago. So that's one. The wire and cable manufacturer and provider, kind of case study there is kind of, again, twofold, right? So um, I would say, 2 years ago, this was a client that was doing pretty good. It was stable where it was at, but it's a very easy case study when you drive 79-80 million dollars out of your true spend, and it's real money, right? We're not talking about fictitious money. This was real money that gets tracked every week, and it's hit their bottom line. It's led to leadership opportunities for the leader of that group that was partnering with us on it to move up. Um, and it allowed for us to grow, right? There was another provider that was managing one of their other business segments through an acquisition, and now we're managing all the sides of the business. We've now expanded the business where it's at. So, that case study is all about really cost savings. We actually did a white paper on it. And yeah, I mean, and the business runs very fluently, right? We've gotten to the point where it's, we generate a KPI every day. We generate multiple. We just did another for their LTL consolidation and project. I think we picked up another $5, $6, $7 million a year, another significant amount of money that will be on top of that. So, but yeah, a lot of people talk about case studies and kind of, you talk about education and those these are real ones that you can sink your teeth into, and it's generated savings and value to the client, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. Well, thanks, Mike. Unfortunately, I'm not tech wise enough to be able to get live questions in from people watching, but I think it was a very interesting discussion. Anybody who has got any questions can contact me directly afterwards, or I will share Mike's and DSV's contact details so they can contact you as well. But thank you very much. I think it was interesting for me to learn.
But Louis, you got to ask all the questions today, so I get to ask you one question now.
Yeah, go on.
What did you learn today?
What did I learn today? Well, firstly, as simple as it sounds, we even used to joke about 4PLs, that, what's next, 5PL, 6PL. I don't know if it was becoming like the razor blades on a Gillette razor, where they just keep adding another number on top and doesn't really add value. But I've heard today how a 4PL adds value. I understand that some of the things that people say about how much you can save, whether it's from a 4PL, but the savings, if you can make improvements to your logistics setup, could lead to, as you said, real money. You're talking, 50, 90, 100 million plus dollars, which is a lot of money. It isn't, saving $1 million is great. But if you can reach those kind of numbers, you said you even developed it into $3 to $4 million, a year after that. So, or a couple of years after that. So,
yeah, and I would say that's the thing that people miss too, right? It's not just 1 year. I mean, you got to look at that. Yeah. That's year over year over year, money, that savings to your bottom line that you wouldn't have had. So,
And
But
I'm also pleased that you're having fun because, as I said, logistics at this moment in time, and I must admit, most of my contacts are in automotive logistics. Fun is a tough thing to have at this moment in time. It isn't for for people who want an easy life, that's for sure. But it
no,
can be fun. It's I mean, would you still recommend logistics as a career for the young people breaking through?
I do, and obviously having 4 kids, and I would say no, I've wanted to steer them out of it. It's not easy, right?
Yeah,
But you know what? I think it's for the right people. It's the right
mm,
career path, right? I think
yeah,
it's a career where if you're willing to work hard
mm,
and do some things, you can really do something with your career with it, right? Because at the end, I'll be frank, it really isn't that hard, right? But
mm,
if you use data to drive your decisions, and you work hard, right? Did the truck pick up on time?
mm,
What are the milestones where it's at? Providing those services, yeah, it's there, right? And it's going to continue to grow, right? Logistics is never going to go away, right? It's like the medical industry, right? It may shrink and
mm,
grow and expand where it's at,
yeah,
but we're all going to have issues health wise, right? And we're all going to have to move product. And
yeah,
so yeah, it's always going to be there. And I think if you have grit and you have hard work, it's a good
mm,
industry for you, right? I think
mm,
of it as a little bit of the trades, right? If you look at the trades where they're at, it's a big shortage of
mm,
where it's at.
yeah,
That's not easy either. It's hard work, but a lot of folks are going into it from obviously the compensations have really grown in those areas,
yeah,
across a lot of areas. But I think you got to have the right mindset. It's not for everybody, that's for sure. But
mm,
if you work hard and you're willing to listen and learn and provide a good service, there's a lot of good. There's a couple different career paths you can go, right, from the engineering side of it, the procurement side of it,
yeah,
operational side of it. So a lot of
mm,
different ways too. If you go into it, there's different areas that you can go into, and which is pretty cool too. And I think as
yeah,
leaders get into it, the good leaders are the ones that have been in um, all those roles, right? And they understand all
yeah,
facets of the business. So if you
yeah,
go in and just specialize in one, um, kind of shortens that opportunity for you to grow and expand where you want to go.
mm,
So, but yeah, I
mm,
highly recommend it. I think it's cool. It's been
mm,
good for me and my family.
yeah.
But it's not easy. It's not easy. So
That's for sure. Okay, then. Well, thank you very much, Mike. As I was saying, really good to talk to you. And as also, as I said, I'll share your details and the DSV details to anybody who's interested and wants to ask more questions and so on. But thank you very much, Mike, and we'll speak again soon. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Right,
As always, it was nice to talk to you. Thanks for having me today.
right.
Take
Thank you
care.
very much. Thank
See you,
you.
Louis. Bye-bye.